one of my years of meditation. But a deep breath in through your nose. Fill up your back, fill up your side lungs, and then exhale. Blow it all the way out. And when you blow it all the way out, your gut's got to come in, you pull your belly button in, you shut down your ribs like you're shutting down gills, and then you hold it. And you watch the timer. Most people can get to about 20 seconds. But if you practice this, trying to get to about 40, I had one person who came in recently who told me she could do 3 to 4 minutes. And I was like, wow. I mean, why are you even here? I don't, if you can do that. But I will tell you that people, this is a treatment that we use for people who are anxious. And after the election week, I think all of us are a little anxious, and we could mitigate our anxiety by exhaling fully and holding the exhale. Now, I tried to work with a few people with this while I was adjusting them or whatever, and I loved the cheats. The cheats were exhale, 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 exhale. So don't cheat yourself. I really exhale. And then if you can't, don't make it too hard. Like once you get to the place where you have to sip some more air, just accept that's what it is. But the more you practice it, the easier it gets, and the more profound it is on the brain.
So you're counting to 20, that's after you've already pushed everything out, and you're like in a whole...
Yeah. Total exhale. It's hard for some people to even get into a total exhale, but I just want to key you in. These are gills, your ribs are gills, and the more you shut down your ribs and really pull your belly button towards your back, the more exhale you're going to get. Now, why am I talking about breathing when we're really here about the brain? Because that breathing stimulates the anterior cingulate. So even if you can't meditate, you can just breathe in a way that stimulates the anterior cingulate. And why do we want to stimulate the anterior cingulate? Because it makes us less reactive. It helps us to mitigate stress. And one of the number one toxins in the brain, and it will cause toxicity that kills the microglial cells, is stress. Thankfully, probably none of us have grown up in war-torn Slovakia or anything like that. But man, when I think about what some people have lived through, it's just amazing. And I know that it must be their spiritual, even if it's not connected to a tradition, it is their ability to understand that they are more than their physical body and that they can change. They are not a victim to their environment. And I think that's one of the best things to affirm whenever you're breathing, that you are not a victim, that you are actually a cultivator of whatever body or mind you want to have. Which brings me to one other tip, and it's in your PowerPoint, but Dr. Rick Hanson, who is a psychologist, is on the net at rickhanson.net, and he is a psychologist who is in California, and his primary his primary theory that he is bringing to the world is that you can develop a positive attitude that will change the structure of your brain. And he recommends that you have an ecstatic experience every single morning when you wake up. Now, an ecstatic, ECTASY experience. I do have a lisp. How many of us do that? Yeah. Woohoo!
There's fog out there again this morning.
I have to say this summer, man, that humidity and the heat, yeah, difficult. But the trick to doing it is, one, remembering that you want to do it, right? The other thing is finding what gives you ecstasy. What actually turns you on? When we're kids, we kind of know what turns us on, right? At least I think healthy kids do. Some kids who are struggling might not remember. So think about that. Think about what gives you ecstasy. I'm lucky. I'm easy. Just being outside, that does it for me. And what a beautiful, beautiful sunny day. When we were thinking about how are we going to put 20 people in the office, it was great that this just worked out, right? I think also honoring positive things, and I would love for you to look into his stuff because he's very creative with the way that he helps you to remember what is the good stuff and how the more you focus on the good stuff, the better it is. I have a mother who's 87 and she's my muse. She's my muse because she's the one that her story got me into chiropractic. She is consistently positive, consistently, even to the detriment of, and this is a contradiction, but she will hang in something, stay positive, even though she's burning her own house down. And I've watched her go into lymphoma and then come out of it again. She has some grandchildren. Thankfully, they're related to me, but they're not my kids. Thankfully, who were major stressors for her. A lot of mental illness in that branch of the family. And I just want to say this: she prayed for these kids. She got involved too, but she prayed. Do you know that both of those kids are fully functional adults? And she thinks it was the prayer. I don't know what else it was. I mean, I don't know what else carried them through the stress that they went through as children. I don't know. But she, every single day, thinks of something positive to wake up to. And I just thought she was loony until I met Dr. Hanson and realized, oh, that's a strategy for living. You know, her mother was that way. Her mother would be, I don't know. Her mother is my dementia grandparent, who was demented from the time she was in her mid 60s until she died when she was 94. But that woman, it didn't matter. She didn't make lifestyle changes like she needed to. She didn't know about them. She drank. To excess sometimes, not every day. But, and she didn't know about blood-brain barriers. But every day she would look out her window and she'd see a cardinal, and that was the best thing that had happened in a long, long time, to see that cardinal. So you have to look for the beauty around you and really give it some energy. Really realize that it's a powerful thing, and that it's a powerful thing that can nurture you. And I don't care what it is. Your grandkids, the cardinal that's outside. I mean, one of the things, my mother's moved in with us, and one of the things she got really wrapped around the axle about was, get that bird feeder up. I got to see those birds, you know? And I guess the birds are her thing. Anyway, find what it is that gets you excited. I know for me that it's movement, and it always has been. I danced as a kid, movement. And I want to tell you that there is no pill that you can take that is stronger than exercise. And that's one of the other lifestyle strategies. Once you've shut down your blood, or you've sealed up your blood-brain barrier and your gut barrier, once you've started to work on your anterior cingulate and taking care of that lizard brain that is negative and fearful and angry, the next thing to do is to move, and to move every single day. Now, I'm lucky because I have a job that requires movement, so I have never stopped moving. But I will tell you that you have to go above and beyond everyday movement, and you need to mix it up. So the strategy is that you should be hitting your target heart rate 4 times a week for 45 minutes. That strategy is to build brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. As we get older, we lose BDNF, but that's not enough. You have to do more movement. You have to do different movement. You have to stimulate your brain to make new pathways, not just by thinking, but by moving. So if you've never tap danced, get into tap dancing lessons. If you've never done wall climbing, start wall climbing. If you've never surfed, get out there and start surfing. For me, movement is ecstasy. And so that's really easy for me to do. And I usually try to do something new and different every year. I've slacked off the last couple of years, but try to find something new you haven't done and do it. Even if it's the grapevine, you know, even if it's listening to, I don't know, Ariana Grande and making up some new moves in front of the mirror. Do something new and different every day, but also be sure that you're hitting your target heart rate for 45 minutes, 4 times a week. Yoga is a wonderful thing to do as well, because yoga, especially if you switch teachers all the time, because there's so many different movements to get into or positions to get into that are stimulating to the brain because they are meant to be stimulating to the brain. Yoga is not an exercise. Yoga is a meditation. Yoga is thousands and thousands and thousands of years old and was developed by people who are trying to figure out how to keep this receptor site, this brain, as active as possible as long as they possibly can. So then, of course, what you've all come for is, what's the magic pill? What's the pill that I can take where I don't have to do any of those things? Unfortunately, there isn't one. But I can tell you about things that will help the brain not only grow, but be more vibrant and less toxic. So the first thing is butyrate if you have a gut blood-brain barrier issue. B-U-T, and it's in your PowerPoint, B-U-T-Y-R-A-T. The other thing is things that create BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And I have to say that when I was at the functional medicine seminar, 3 or 4 years ago, one of the first presenters was Dr. Perlmutter. And one of the things you could do is like Dr. Perlmutter on Instagram or follow him. He is a neurologist who is all about optimizing brain. You know why? Because his dad had Alzheimer's and he knows he's going to get it. I feel kinship. At any rate, he presented this information that said that coffee berry extract was found to boost BDNF 140% 1 hour after ingesting 1/8 of a teaspoon. And I went, wow. I mean, really, wow, that's amazing. Because you know how much blueberries increase BDNF in highly concentrated doses within an hour? 9%. Like 140% is crazy. Exercise does the same thing. It boosts BDNF, but not by 140%. So I got really excited about that. And in following through with some of the research, he pointed out the other thing about coffee berry extract is it is one of the most powerful antioxidants on the planet. It is more powerful by large percentages than acacia berry, or throw another one out. I mean, any of the ones that are being sold at this point as heavy antioxidants, coffee berry extract outstrips them. And we do have the research, and you can look the research up. But I got really excited about coffee berry, and I just thought, well, I'm going to come home and get some. And I went on the internet, and I could only find it from one place, and it was mixed up with a bunch of other stuff. And I don't like things mixed up with a bunch of other stuff. I just wanted the real product. Long story short, it's taken us a good 3 years to finally figure out how to produce it, how to ingest it. And if you've had, looks like everybody's had a cup of tea but me. Has everybody had some? Yay, good. So that's coffee berry extract. In about 30 minutes, you'll have more BDNF. No, I'm joking. You will have more BDNF, but you're not going to feel it. It has a little bit of caffeine in it, and it is, as I said, besides boosting BDNF, it is the most powerful antioxidant. Which cycles us back around to what is the most potent toxin for the brain? It's systemic inflammation. If you have inflammation in your knee and your blood-brain barrier isn't good, you have brain inflammation. So you need more antioxidant to help with, not only with the knee, but with the brain. The brain loves antioxidants. It loves coffee berry extract. We've partnered coffee berry extract up with American ginseng because American ginseng is a yin ginseng. We export more ginseng than we import. It's not a stimulant. It doesn't make you more energized. It's actually neuroprotective and gut protective. It's one of the most potent herbal, well, not even more than just one of the most potent conditioners for the gut. Anyway, I have a cup every day. We are marketing this to other professionals, but it is a valuable tool. It is not the only thing you need to do if you are concerned about brain deterioration. And if I haven't done so already, you should be. I should have given you enough information to be really concerned about brain deterioration because we all have it. Only 1 in 100 will really go through life without some kind of intervention, without having some kind of neurocognitive decline. We have children who have neurocognitive decline because of the inflammatory nature of the diet in the U.S. And you've been really good for listening to me, but I do have a couple other things to say, and then I'll be done. And then you can go over and get your GABA test and find out what your blood-brain barrier is like. The doctor who put together BrainSpan, the one who was working with Gulf War vets, has done a great job of putting together a test that is a blood spot test, and the second part of it is something you do at home. In other words, we do the blood spot, and then you do the neurocognitive test at home on a phone, right? We decided a phone was best. You have to log on to his website, and you can get a marker for where your cognitive ability is and where your inflammation in your brain is. And what he recommends, although I recommend some little different things, to fix that. Now, one of the reasons I recommend this is because how do you know? You don't. You really don't. I mean, I know because I know where I've been, and I have the resources to kind of extrapolate. But I have to say, when I did it, I was kind of surprised I was as good as I was. And I was surprised at where I needed to shore up my cognitive abilities. The questionnaire that you're filling out is one way to determine where you need to shore up cognitive abilities. And how do you do that? Practice. In other words, exercise. Maybe you need to do balance exercises. Maybe you need to get on Brain HQ or Luminosity and do some of those. Maybe you need to learn to meditate or relax. It's really interesting to see these questionnaires in people of all ages, and how many young people are really captivated by anxiety. So anxiety is a neuroinflammation key. Depression is. And one of the mistakes we made in this talk is that fatigue is the number one sign for brain inflammation. And I forgot to tell my fatigue people, you need to come here. One of the reasons we do these classes is because I don't have time to tell this to everybody. I don't even have time to think, oh yeah, she needs to come to the brain seminar. So that's why Caitlin puts it out, and we hope that people see themselves and see, oh, maybe I need to get this. So I made a list of people who are fatigued who should have been here, because fatigue is the number one sign of brain deterioration. So we've talked about pulling up the barriers. We've talked about activating the anterior cingulate. We've talked about exercise, that we need to do that. And the one thing we really didn't talk a whole lot about was inflammation. This is all about neuroinflammation and using things that are out on the market right now for neuroinflammation. Can anybody give me anybody know of what's out on the market for neuroinflammation right now? The big one. Yeah, turmeric, which works for some people and doesn't work for other people. Turmeric will only go so far, and really, those things that have to do with inflammation can be used as a stopgap if they're right for you. But the biggest thing is to get inflammation down in your gut, and that has to be done through changing food. And one of the worst things for people to eat for neuroinflammation is fast food. And when I say fast food, what I mean is food that's laden with seed oils and seed oils that have been burnt, right? Do you know how when you walk into I haven't walked into one recently, but you can walk into a restaurant and you can smell there's rancid oil? You need to walk right back out. Because that is the biggest brain killer on the planet. And most of our kids...
Oil a mile away.
Yeah.
I mean, I just my nose is very tuned to it.
Yeah. And think of how many kids that's the food they go to. So we have to change our food. There is no pill to take to mitigate that kind of diet. So we're not even going to talk about that. There are lots of them out there. So today, if you want to, and I'm 5 minutes over, so I'm going to shut down And if you have any questions, I'll hang out. Today, we have a special on the brain span test, which is, what is it, Caitlin? Oh, they're deciding. They're haggling back there. I think we decided.
The special is 10% off.
10% off.
And in your folder, you have this diagram, and that's all about the brain span test.
So what he does is he gives you a report and he makes some recommendations for different activities you might want to do and also different supplements. The most important is fish oil. And he measures your omega fatty acids. Fish oil is really important for the brain. Coconut oil is important for the brain, but there are lots of different oils that are good for the brain. And he measures and lets you know what kind of oils you need. But he also will tell you what kind of exercises you might need for your brain as well. It's 180, and what were we doing? We're doing
10% off.
So it winds up being like 162. It's a blood spot and something you have to do at home. And if you forget to do it at home, we won't call you. No. And then he gives you what you should do, and then what he recommends is that 3 months later you recheck. I have a beautiful, beautiful woman who had cancer and was being treated for cancer, and she went through her treatment, but she wound up with a head tremor, and she swore her memory was going. People were telling her memory was going. And if you have a head tremor and your memory's going, you don't look that cute, do you? She was most concerned. At any rate, long story short, we had her do this. Her memory's fine. Her memory was good. She passed all the tests, but her inflammation was way up. She sensed that something wasn't right, and what she sensed was the neuroinflammation. But it wasn't her memory. Her memory's fine. Sometimes you think your memory's going when your processing is down, and this is one of those tests that you can determine, is it processing or is it memory? She blew through everything. I have a processing issue. I would never have dubbed it that, but of course he gave me the exercises to do, and I am doing them. And I haven't done my recheck, but when the woman who thought she had a memory problem did her recheck to see where her inflammation was at, she'd gotten much better just by changing her lifestyle, essentially. And what's the number? I remember now. I forgot the number one thing. What is the best brain floss on the planet? Sleep. If you are not sleeping, you may have a GABA issue. If you're not sleeping, you may be in a stressful environment. If you're not sleeping, you may have hypoglycemia. If it's hypoglycemia, you've got to quit eating simple sugars during the day. If it's a stressful environment, you got to get out of it. I mean, if it's your job, if it's a relationship, you just have to get out of it. And if it's that you don't have enough GABA, we have to help you build more GABA by taking L-theanine. Whatever you need to do to sleep, you need to do it, because sleep is where you restore not only your body, but your brain. My current mentor, who is a neurologist, fires patients if they don't sleep. He just says, "You're not sleeping? Get to sleep. I've given you all the things you need to do. Come back when you're sleeping." Now, I've always been a light sleeper, but I will tell you, if I don't exercise, I don't sleep. Exercise is a potent assistance to sleep, and you have to have the right kind of exercise. But sometimes it's just that you're eating too much sugar during the day. I use myself and my family members as guinea pigs. There are these great vitamin D gummies, and I was just chugging those things. I was really hungry, and I went into a hypoglycemic attack later that night because I don't usually eat a whole lot of sugar, but those gummy vitamin Ds were really good. And, I probably had 20 of them during the day. And I went into a hypoglycemic attack, and you know what a hypoglycemic attack feels like? When you're in bed, already sleeping, you break out into a hot flash. You have a hot flash, you wake up, and you feel anxious. And at first, when it happened, I was like, what the heck? And then I realized, oh yeah, it's those gummies I ate. So if you're not sleeping well, make sure your blood-brain barrier's good. make sure you've cut out all simple sugars. And then you have to find out, do you have a GABA production issue, which is another test. It's simple to do, and we can talk about it. And then begin exercising. I've found for me that it's not the cardio that helps me to sleep, it's the weight training and the yoga. If you don't weight train, you can add a little bit. You know, you don't have to do a lot. Biceps, triceps. The weird thing about biceps, triceps, and just doing a little bit, like 3 times, 10 pounds, it doesn't have to be a lot. It also builds your bone. So, and they found with women who are osteoporotic that even 3 years later, that their bone, they've stopped doing the weight training. Their bone is better than their component who never did it. So that's a lot to say. But do we have coffee berry on sale too?
We can put it on sale today. That
Okay.
sounds like a great idea.
Okay.
That will create an ecstatic experience.
Yeah, an ecstatic. Yeah, some people have ecstatic experience from sales. I will tell you that this coffee berry has the American ginseng in it, so it has an herby taste to it, and it is clumpy. It is clumpy because we don't have the anti-clumpy stuff in it, right? I personally think it's good. It's not what you were drinking. What you were drinking was this. Yeah, what you were drinking is this, which is honestly the same amount, but this doesn't have the American ginseng and it has spices. And how else did you make it? Did you spice it up?
I served it with some chai tea.
Oh, you put it in chai
So
tea?
I added that to chai tea.
Okay. All right.
So you could really add it to any of your favorite tea or coffee. We really like it with chai tea and honey and sometimes a little creamer.
I have to say that just this too, with a little bit of honey and a little bit of cream, is really good. So
It's really good.
So it
Yeah.
will be $28 today. It's usually $35.
see, yes.
I'm taking the Baricon.
Mm-hmm.
You're taking that. I mean, should you mix? I've taken that before. I took that a while back.
It's not counter. It doesn't
You mix it all. Get it all together with everything else that like the C and the D and the zinc and the probiotics. I mean, how do you take all that together without your stomach going crazy?
Oh well, you don't take it all at once. You have to break that.
So would you take that first thing in the morning, or would you?
I
take-
drink this as one of my cups of tea. You could put it in your coffee too. Yeah, this is just a hot drink that you have, and it's better to do it in the morning because it does have a little bit of caffeine.
Yeah, it gave me a little bit of energy when I took it.
Yeah. So I have to say that I love American ginseng. American ginseng is it's a wonderful, nurturing herb for exhaustion and for gut stuff. It's just a good food, really. And when you think about the supplements, whether it's this kind of stuff or any of the other pills, they're really just concentrated food. So that's the way I think of it. That's how I choke it all down. Because honestly, our food chain is do you know that one of the most potent supplements to take for the brain and for muscle is CoQ10? CoQ10 is really important for mitochondria. Our mitochondria-rich tissues are the brain and muscle. And that our ancestors got CoQ10 from organ meat. Now, my mom, my muse, I'm going to do a book. She, God bless her, she was a depression baby, and her parents were immigrants. I remember her, and we lived in Europe, so that's a whole other thing too. But I remember her cooking heart. I remember her giving us tongue. I remember her frying us, liver.
My mother ate liver.
Yeah, liver. Chicken gizzards.
Yeah.
What are some of the other stuff? I remember having sweetmeats, which you know what sweetmeats are. Do you?
Is that tripe?
I don't know about tripe. I don't know that I want to know about tripe, but sweetmeats are the pineal, it's pineal gland and adrenals. Yeah. All of us including me. I'm not going to eat it. I don't care. I don't care how much Coke you down. I'm not going to, I'd rather take a pill. Now, Standard Process, which is one of the places or one of the companies that we carry, that is a physician-only company, is their bailiwick, is that they grind up organs from organic cows and pigs and put it in a pill form. Because the dentist who started Standard Process back at the turn of the last century saw a difference, even at the turn of the last century, not at the turn of this century, he saw a difference in dental structure, not just caries, but structure, and wondered, why is there a difference between Western people and indigenous people? And it was organ meat. So that's what Standard Process. I did decide to start expanding my supplement routine to get more organ meat in once I learned about how important that was. But yeah, I choose to take pills for some of this stuff because I don't want to eat the food that you got it from. And I will tell you that there's a suggested reading list that probably doesn't include Terry Walls on there. Terry Walls is I used to think that she was a neurologist, but actually I think she's just internist. And I don't mean just like it's bad, but I thought she was a neurologist, but she's an internist who works for the VA, who is a kick-ass human being. She was in the Olympic team for, I don't know, some kind of martial art when she was young. She became a doctor. She developed MS. She has pictures of herself in her book and in her PowerPoint stuff, treating patients in a reclining wheelchair. She couldn't sit up. Now, as a chiropractor, listening to her talk, she's sitting down and she says, I'm no longer in a wheelchair and I can stand if I want to, but I have stenosis. I wonder what her life would have been if she'd started getting adjusted. I'm lucky that I started getting adjusted. I think she's probably had so many head traumas from her martial art time that her atlas and her axis are out and her L5's probably compressed. If you get to talk with her at any point, please ask her. But she healed herself from MS by changing her diet. She did a couple of different things. She tried the Standard Medical, and once she continued to degenerate and lay around in a wheelchair while you're treating patients. I just can't, who does that? Who doesn't decide to just stay home at that point? She tried several different diet plans, like, keto, paleo. She did a bunch of nutraceuticals, and she's still in favor of some nutraceuticals, but her primary therapy was food, and she did a lot of research on food. And I do have a punchline here. She worked for the VA in Iowa. She has a whole protocol for nerve brain healing, because MS is a nerve brain problem. As she got better and better, started sitting up in the wheelchair, started walking instead of using a wheelchair, and then actually had enough energy to do research to figure out, how do I get even more better? What she found was that, and I'm still trying to wrap my head around this, that you need to eat 9 cups of vegetables and fruits a day. 9 cups.
Yep.
9 cups. And she breaks it down into 3 cups of leafy green, like stuff like kale, 3 cups of berries, and then the other 3 cups are things like mushrooms and root vegetables. And then on top of that, she recommends that people eat organ meats and meat. Not going to do it. But then what happened is that the VA they decided she could treat patients with MS with her protocol. She's at the VA, she's in Iowa. It doesn't get more remote unless you're in I can't even say it, Kazakhstan. And I know Iowa, I've been there many times. She has 20 minutes twice a year with these MS patients, right? Because if you're a standard doc, you get to give them medicine and just make sure, just document how bad they're getting, right? Well, no, she goes to the next level. She starts treating, she sticks with every 20 minutes, but she starts a website where she can interact with them. So she gives them the diet plan and also talks with them a little bit about detoxification. She gets people to do saunas in the middle of Iowa in their cars in the summertime. It gets really hot in Iowa in the summertime. So despite all the plastics that are in their cars, she has them sitting in cornfields with all the windows shut, sweating for 20 to 30 minutes a day to get out the toxins. At any rate, I just think she's amazing because she's going to do it. Anyway, she's a great person to listen to. She's got a website. She's got several books. She's got a whole recipe plan. I'm not choosing to eat the organ meats. That's just me. I'm sorry.
Her name is in here.
I don't think it is.
What's
No,
her
that's
name?
Terry, Terri, Waltz, WAHLS. And yeah, well, Parkinson, but the thing is, it doesn't matter what the word is. Is it MS? Is it Parkinson's? Is it Alzheimer's? Is it traumatic brain injury? It doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. It's inflammation of the brain and brain that isn't working right. So once you have a brain that's not working right, you can recultivate it, but it may not always look the same as it's recultivated, right? Because there is a certain amount of structural change that happens. So on that happy note, you can change the brain. If you want to eat organ meat, please don't invite me over. I'll take this. And if you want to do a brain scan test, these two people are here to do it. And you can always call and come in and do it another time. Just know it's a blood spot, and then you have to go home and do some stuff on your phone or your computer. And I think it's really valuable. And we do have a lot of coffee berry to go to at a discount. And if you like to use scholarly